New Orleans Saints, Cleveland Browns betting preview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's try and cash a little tickets here. So we've been doing this every week, and we've been pretty successful. We've seemed to find the game script. We've seemed to, even when the Saints don't do well, do decent with props and things like that. So if you're looking to bet the Saints-Browns game, this is a great place to start. So we're going to talk about it, talk through it, and give you as much information as you need. All right, so let's start with the line movement or the market moves or the Vegas odds, however you want to frame it. Saints open -2. Really, I would say -1.5. I didn't see a lot of twos, but definitely 1.5, all right? Now, they have now moved all the way across to +1 at some shops. Pick mostly across the board. So, serious movement. Like, we call this steam in sports betting. And this is relevant. Like, this is big time relevant, especially to me. Because when I look at handicapping games, whether it's college basketball, whether it's hockey, whether it's whatever, the first thing I look at is the market movement and the betting splits. And I'll tell you this, if you've been watching these videos for long enough, you know that this is not what you want to see if you're a Saints backer. 57% of tickets, the majority of tickets, are on the Saints. But the majority of money, high majority of money, are on the Browns, which has pushed this across the number. This 76% is representing legitimate, real, big boy, sharp money. 76%, which is already the splits you want, right? If you're looking for like the best splits possible, you want low bets, high dollar. So that's exactly what Cleveland's got. 43% tickets, 76% dollar. Not good for the Saints. Now, normally, okay, so this is another good example, the Bills. High ticket count, 57% is on the Chiefs. 53% of money is on the Bills. That's the good split you want. And it's moving the Buffalo number away from, it's moving towards Buffalo. So that's what you want to see. Now, this is an interesting time because I have to look at this and I have to say, am I being biased? Okay, am I being biased here? Or do I see something that maybe the market isn't seeing? All right. I think it's the second option. Immediately after the Falcons game, we identified that you could probably say this is a bit of a fugazi box score with the Saints-Falcons. Not to say that the Saints should have lost or not to say that it was completely fake or anything like that, but wasn't as good of a performance as maybe it seems. You also have the whole like, well, they had an interim coach bump, so now is that interim coach bump gone away? You know, all of that. The Browns are off of a bye. You know, so there's a lot against the Saints. My pushback is there are a lot of things that people may not be quantifying, like Eric McCoy returning. So Eric McCoy coming back is huge. Eric McCoy playing for the first time since the third play against Philadelphia or whatever is enormous. Eric McCoy is not a household name. So if you don't follow the Saints, you're probably not factoring in that much at all. Okay. I do think the Browns should have taken early money. Like I think at +2, +1.5, Browns are a play. At this point now, who the hell are the Cleveland Browns to be laying any amount, whether it's 1 or 2 or whatever, laying any amount on the road? Okay. And then I go to this. The composite power ratings. There isn't a power rating across the board, okay, that would make this line what it is. If you look at, let's see, who has the highest? I mean, FPI has the Browns as 18th team and the Saints as the 21st team. Even this would have the Saints as like a point favorite. Because this would have the Saints -1.3, worse than an average team. This would have the Browns 0.3, which would make the Saints 1 point worse than the Browns, but you give them 2-ish points for being home. That would still make them a 1-point favorite. There isn't a single power rating across the entirety of sports betting that has this number what it is. So it's hard for me to believe that every single that the Vegas odds makers and every single power rating group all are wrong. I just don't see it. I have to make the Saints the play, and it's scary to do it. Now, the Saints are an incredible teaser leg. If you're interested in getting after it that way, 6-point teaser, put the Saints in there, call it a day. But if you look at this, if you do the composite rating, all right, then the Saints should be 3-point favorites, we'll call it. 3.5 to 3-point favorites. And you're getting them +1, that's nuts. If you go to unexpected, okay, my guy Kevin Cole, Saints are minus 1.4 points worse. Browns are 1.7. So the Saints are 0.3 points better than the Browns. Give them 2 at home, 1.5 to 2. That makes them a 1.5 to 2-point favorite. All right, Fez. Everybody loves Fez. Fez would have the Saints 3 points worse than an average team. Browns 3.5 points worse, which would make the Saints half point better than the Browns. At home, again, 1.5 to 2-point favorite. Everyone has 1.5 to 2-point favorite, except the Vegas odds, except the market. I think the market's wrong here. I think it's overcorrected. The Browns are not good. We looked at DVOA all week. If you look at DVOA, the Browns are 32nd, 31st, 28th, and everything. The only thing they do at an even average level is run defense, which they are 15th. Okay? I don't see it. I do not see it at all. If we go to Bet Stamp, take a look. Go to the NFL slate. Go to boom, boom. All right, you can see it right here. The best numbers you can find. Right now, FanDuel has Saints are +1.5. That is nuts. On a teaser, you can get them +7.5. All right, DraftKings +1. MGM still holding strong at -1. Caesars is off the board right now. I guess they're about to change. I would assume they're about to go to Saints +1. Bet Rivers plus a half. Yeah, I mean, I love the Saints at +1.5. Love the Saints. Love them on a teaser leg. Absolute incredible teaser leg. Okay, so if we go to the prop bets now. So how do we think this game's going to go? I think the Saints find success on the ground, which is how they find success anyways. They find success by controlling the game, running the football, getting Alvin Kamara involved. First thing I want to look at is Alvin's rushing attempts. I would assume it's going to be somewhere around 16.5. It is, boom, 16.5. At this number, I'd play over. If you think Jamal Williams again is out, which helps Alvin, if you think the Saints are going to win, then this is, I think, a great bet. We saw it last week. He got 17 in a tight game. In a tight game, he got 17. He only averaged 3.2. So by having the rush attempts, you kind of get away from the who knows what'll happen as far as like his production. Now, Eric McCoy being back is good. Let's just see what the yards are. I'm gonna guess 60. You could do it. I can go ahead and tell you how they're gonna do it. Let's see here. If we do 17 times, he's probably like 4.25, I would guess. 72. So I would guess it's going to be like right around 70, 71, somewhere in there. Let's see. Rushing yards. There it is. All right. Easy game, ladies and gentlemen. He's got 69.5 at ESPN Bet, 63.5 at Caesars, 72.5. These are kind of high. These are a little bit higher. Let's see. Alvin's averaging on the season, he's averaging, 4.3 yards a carry. So if he gets 17, which we assume he's going to, and he's averaging 4.3, he would have 73.1. So you need him to average, you need him to be better than either A, be better than 4.3, or B, get more than 17 carries if you want to bet his rushing yards. So I would stay away from that. I think I would lean over, but there's not enough value there. You're playing with like a 1-2 yard window. I like the attempts much more because directionally, if the Saints win this game, I think it flies over 16.5. This is the kind of game where you can bet 16.5, Saints win by 10, Alvin has 25 carries, and you're not sweating it at all. Touchdowns, he's always interesting for a touchdown, but I don't really play that market. Receptions has been sitting at 5.5 the entire season. The drop last week would have been his 6th. 5.5's a lot. I think 5.5's a lot. I think you do play 5.5 if you expect the Saints to be losing, because then that forces Derek Carr to dump the ball off, forces him to throw it. With lack of receivers, I think Alvin can get in the passing game in that situation, but beyond that, I'd stay away from it. As far as the receivers go, I'm not going to play this market. I know we've tried to the last couple of days or last couple of weeks, but it's when you have receivers like this that are relatively no names, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mason Tipton, Kevin Austin, it's so much more random than with consistent, like with receivers, their production. No one would have guessed Kevin Austin would have been a target, last week. No one would have guessed Mason Tipton wouldn't have had any targets at all, right? Because we just don't know. Mason Tipton 1 week can have 6-7 targets. The next week he can be waived. That's just how it is with players like this. Even Connor McGovern, he's not a receiver, but Connor McGovern, starting center, last week runs out, gets introduced. Connor McGovern got introduced last week against the Falcons at the Superdome, had his own individual run out. The next day he got waived. So when you're playing with fringe players, I'd stay away from their props. I'm not going to play any of the receiving or the reception props. Now, one market I am interested in is Jameis Winston. Because if we look at Cleveland, all right, Cleveland with Winston, they have won against Baltimore in a shootout and lost against the Chargers. I'm interested in the loss because I think they will lose. Okay, so if we go to the loss, 27-10, relatively, it was 20-3, so kind of a blowout. So kind of a bad sample size because it's a blowout. But Winston throws it 46 times. They are not afraid to let Winston let it rip. Okay, 46 attempts. Now let's go to the game against Baltimore. Again, a bit of a different animal. It's Baltimore. It's kind of a shootout. It's a close game. Winston's got to kind of win at the end. But he throws it 41 times, okay? So 41 times and 46 times, which shows me they are not afraid to let Jameis Winston throw it. Jameis Winston, 34.5 attempts. That seems really low. Especially if you think they're going to be behind. So part of me likes this Jameis Winston pass attempts. I do like playing attempts over completions because just let it rip. Who cares? Yards, I could also see the yards. Let's see where they are passing yards. Yeah, 239 seems low. 239 seems real low. He had, what do you have in these two games? He had 235 and 334. I think they're going to be in a game script where he's going to have to throw it. The Saints do give up a ton of yards. Kool-Aid is back, but beyond that, the secondary is relatively weak. I don't expect the Browns to have too much success on the ground. Let's see what they have Nick Chubb doing. They have Nick Chubb having, it seems like a lot of carries for Chubb. They have Chubb having mid-60s. It seems like a lot. What's he been doing? Let's see. Nick Chubb got 16 for 52 in the win and 15 for 39. He hasn't been effective at all. So he's averaging 2.7 yards a carry. You'd have to go all 22 it, but that doesn't exactly scream production. So I wouldn't feel too comfortable with I wouldn't. What's his longest? 11, 15, 5. 15 and a half for his longest run seems like a lot. 65 and a half, 64 and a half seems like a lot. And 16 and a half seems like a lot. To me, it just makes more sense that Alvin has a ton of carries versus Nick Chubb. And they have them as the same, basically. They have both of them at 16 and a half, which I think is crazy. So, to me, everything points to Jameis overs, Chubb unders, Kamara over rushing. Let's see what Carr. They have Carr at 30 and a half. DraftKings, MGM. See, I like Carr's. I like the idea of his unders as well. Because if they can control the game, they will. Like, if they can control it, they are happy to control it. So Carr had 25 against Atlanta for 269, but you got to remember that's huge. That's huge plays. I mean, Marquez had a 67-yarder. Alvin had 31. Taysom had 34. These are huge chunk plays. So that 269 is a little bit inflated. 25 seems about right. 25. Let's see what happened against Carolina. Against Carolina, he had 31 for 236. Let's see what his yards at. Okay, so I was going to say I think his yards should be pretty low. That the market's already corrected this. I'd stay away from this unless you're on ESPN Bet. 224.5 might be worth a play on the under, but these are already suppressed. The market's already correctly done this. His attempts, I would lean under. On the attempts there. He was running around a little bit last week, but I wouldn't mess around with that. So I think we've kind of identified the appropriate props. Again, I'll say Jameis overs, pass attempts, yards. I would say Chubb under attempts, yards. Alvin over attempts. I love the Saints. Let's see the total. I'm interested in the total here. Let's look at the total. So the total is, let's see what the total is done in the market. Let's go to total. All right, so it opened 42.5, so it's been steamed up a little bit. I do agree with that. I think this has over written all over it. I think it's two bad defenses who love giving up a ton of yards and a quarterback on the Browns side who's not afraid to throw it 50 times, which turnovers are great for overs too. So Winston to throw a pick, not bad. Let's take a look at that. Let's see, player props, Jameis interception. A little expensive for me. I probably wouldn't play it at those prices. Then if we go to the splits, 64%. See, this is reverse line movement. 62% of bets and 64% on the under, but the number is moving to the over. So I would lean over. The value's probably sucked out of it already, going from 42.5 to 44. But if you want to play something on the total, I would lean over there. So, yeah, I mean, I think we have a good read on it. I think we have a good idea of what's going to happen in this game. I'm all over the Saints. Love the teaser. If there's one thing to really hammer home, it's find a teaser leg with the Saints. Let me see if I can give y'all a couple here. A couple good ones. Let's see. Nah, not the Bengals. The Bengals plus 7.5, plus 8. That's not bad. Saints and Bengals. That'd be a good one. The Chargers they don't get margin. The Chiefs plus 8.5 could be interesting, but I like Buffalo in that game, so I can't really hand that one out. Yeah, I mean, some of the other ones are kind of ugly. You don't want to have there's no true teaser numbers out there. Yeah, I mean, not a great week for Houston. Houston's not a bad one. Tease Houston down. I like that. So that's probably your teaser. Saints, Texans. Saints, Bengals. Saints, Bengals, Texans. Those are probably your three teaser legs there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, win some bets, cash tickets. Let me know what you are taking. Let me know on Twitter. Shoot me a mention. Let me know what the tickets are so I can sweat the bets with you. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.